morning. Today I'm going to talk about having what is known as chronic fatigue syndrome. Yes, I've had this so-called, to some people, not real, to other people, questionable, to the ones who've had it, yes. I've had this chronic fatigue syndrome since I was 11 years old, believe it or not. But let me tell you, I was raised in country that had no electricity, no running water, and this is the kind of work that we had to do. When I was 10 years old, I started doing the family wash. My sister, 9 years old, and I would take turns because we quarreled too much when we were doing it together. So our mother separated us, and so this is what I would do when I did the family wash at 10 years old.
Did you say your sister was 9 years older?
Yes, 9 years old. She was a year younger.
Sorry. Yeah, she's 9 years younger.
Yeah, she was 1 year younger. And so we would carry buckets of water from the ditch over to this tub, black tub. We would start a fire, heat the water, a tub full of water, and then we would carry the water, the hot water, as hot as we could carry it, and onto the porch where the washer was, fill it up, and then we would carry more water from the ditch in buckets, which the ditch was quite a little ways from the back porch. We would carry that and fill up the rinse tub. Then we would take about 8 or 9 batches of clothes, and my sister and I just didn't care. I mean, my grandma used to wash all day long in her wash house. She would boil the whites on the stove, but not us, you know, that took way too long for us. So we would wash about 7 batches in one rinse water. Then we would take them all out and hang them on the line, and then we would take the water and we would empty it out in the backyard. And we had to empty the washer, of course. We could sometimes, you know, attach a hose and let it run out. And then we would wash the washer, and that was our job for Saturday. Imagine sending your 10-year-old little girl, to do that. When I had my own little girl and thought about her washing clothes like that, I thought, that is just absurd, but this is the way we had to live in those days, when we had no, you know, people were romanticized the old days, but in those old days you had to work very, very hard. Then, other days of the week we would be bottling. Oh, let me tell you about bottling. Since we didn't have any electricity, we had to keep the stove going. We had to bottle everything in. We didn't have any refrigerators, so we didn't have any freezer, so we had to bottle everything, right down. You know, if we killed a pig, the only thing that we didn't get bottled was the bacon and the ham, and the rest of it we had to bottle. We had to bottle all the beef.
Did you bottle the
hooves?
Yes,
yes, and I would be in there. All of us daughters would be.
Hoof?
No, we didn't bottle the hoof.
I don't know. You said you bottled everything.
Well, it seemed like we had to bottle everything in sight. Anything you saw, you grabbed it and you bottled it.
Well, a hoof is everything in sight.
Because in our cellar, we had to have like 100 quarts of peaches, 100 quarts of applesauce, 100 quarts of tomatoes. You know, because my dad you did not buy anything out of the store, believe me. You had to bottle what you ate during the winter, or we'd have starved to death if we hadn't bottled, because our dad wouldn't let us eat anything out of the store. Possibly once in a while, a can of pork and beans, that was the limit. And bread, we had to make our bread, so my mother refused to make bread anymore, so us daughters would make the bread. We started making the bread when we were 10, 11, like that, and boy, that bread was pretty iffy sometimes. We'd leave out the salt, or we would, you know, do something to it. But, you know, we had to let it raise. We had 8 loaves. 8 loaves was, 6 to 8 loaves was what we made every 2 or 3 days, folks.
Yeah, but isn't this how that
thing from the Old Testament got started when a woman didn't behave. They stoned her with bread.
What is that?
Well,
But see, my dad, my mother and dad had no sons, so we daughters had to carry the chips. We had to learn to milk the cows pretty soon. So if my mother would milk the cow, everybody pitch in, milk the cows. We'd have 2 or 3 cows all the time, and we would milk those. Now, see, does that convince you that I could have been tired, very tired, when I started my chronic fatigue syndrome?
No.
Very tired.
It
Because
does not convince me.
I was raised in the old days without modern conveniences. And this is why modern conveniences were invented, so people didn't have to kill themselves just eating just minor things, not even what they were going to do for a living. They had to work very, very hard just to eat, just to keep their clothes clean, so on and so forth.
Is this a cowboy hat or what, folks?
Oh, well, it's just one of the hats that I bought. You see this? My companion is wearing that hat today. But,
yes, I was told to wear it.
yeah. Well, anyway, he's interfering with this video I'm making on behalf of the chronic fatigue sufferers. This is what people don't understand is if you have been worked too hard as a child, if horses get worked too hard, they will just wear out. They won't be worth a thing. You can't even ride them from here to there, and they'll get tired and lay down on you. They will not go. They're ruined. So if horses, it happens to horses, it can certainly happen to country horses, country people at those times.
Well, it's true.
Yeah. And so
Mr. Ed told Wilbur, I can't take this anymore.
Yes. Well, country living to me
And then it made
was so hard
a
that
TV show.
I never bottled another thing in my life, and I haven't missed it a bit. Because when you had a regular bottling factory in your home every single summer for 15 years, as long as I was home, you just don't miss it.
So your kids.
So anyway, folks,
your kids were not
that
bottle babies,
started my chronic fatigue syndrome,
I see.
which kicks in even to this day. So in other words, that hard work I did as a child, probably because I wasn't mature, I wasn't old enough to work that hard probably.
What you're trying to say is...
yeah, it started when I was a child, and actually when I was a child is when I worked the very hardest I ever did my whole life.
Right. So
hardest.
Basically what you're trying to say is that if I ask you to do something and you say you can't do it, then I should just believe that.
Yes, you should believe it. You should believe it.
Now we come to the truth.
I could say a lot more about chronic fatigue syndrome, but first and I probably will, and from time to time, because it's chronic fatigue syndrome is something that some people have that most people don't believe they have it. They don't understand it, and listen, nobody cares because we've got such much worse diseases like diabetes, cancer, AIDS, heart disease. Doctors have got all they can do to try to research and figure out a cure to these diseases. Us chronic fatigue syndrome sufferers, we just don't matter that much. So that's the first installment of a series that I'll probably make on chronic fatigue syndrome for you people out there who are suffering and nobody believes you. Bye.
I believe you.
Oh.